Good evening, all the joinees. Hi, this is Ansu. I welcome you all to the webinar conducted by NGEN Markets. By the time the others join in, let's have a look at today's webinar topic. So today we would be focusing on various ways how you could onboard your clients onto the platform, be it your existing client who are registered under your ARN number or your RIA code, or your prospective client, how you can onboard any of the prospective client who had shared, let's say, an ECAS or an Excel sheet. Once that is done, we would go forward with doing a comparison of the performance of the portfolio with that of the benchmark. Now, the benchmark that you would see on the platform is something that we call as auto benchmarking. You can either go with those auto benchmarking, which are typically mentioned as reference index. You can either create your own customized benchmark. Followed by that, we would be looking upon the contribution tab, which lets you see how each scheme in the portfolio contributes individually to generate portfolio return as a whole. Next, we would be looking upon the drawdowns, which lets us know how quickly the portfolio is able to recover from any loss that has occurred, depending on the time period that is under consideration. Lastly, we would be having a look at the scenarios tab, which lets us create customized scenarios of your own. Once that is done, the quorum would be open for a Q&A session. You can either unmute yourself or type down your queries in the chat box. So let us begin. So this is our NGEN Markets landing page, the Markets tab. And for today's topic related webinar, I move towards this Clients tab, which is the third last tab. Now in this Clients tab, the first option, as I mentioned, how you can onboard all your existing clients onto the platform is mentioned right here, RTA connection. Now this RTA connection is a feature of our premium version. So here you could upload all the clients or onboard all the clients that are registered through your ARN number. So we support multiple ARN onboarding onto the platform as well. And once we onboard these ARNs onto the platform, the files that we receive are these CAMs and CARVI. So once you onboard with us, our RTA team would get in touch with you to set in filters and forwards that are each registered with your ARN or your RIA code. And from these mailbacks, what we receive are these CAMs, WBR4 files, and CARVI, MFSD 203 files. These are the two files that we receive from your mailback. These are typically the current holding files. So on our platform, we do not capture transactions. We show current holdings and we run an historical hypothetical backtesting on those current holdings. Once your client data get onboarded with us, you would be able to see their name on this left-hand side. Next to the name, you could see the amount that has been invested by them. Now, as I mentioned, you can onboard multiple ARNs onto the platform. You can anytime have a consolidated view of these ARN, which shows you the consolidated data. And also you can anytime view these ARNs or RIA numbers individually as well. So here I've just loaded this individual ARN and let's have a look at this dashboard right now. So here for this ARN, it's specifically mentioning what is the total AUM under this ARN that is under consideration, approximately to an extent of 56.5 CR. The total number of clients that come under this ARN is also mentioned right here. And the average AUM per client comes up to be 16.74 lakh. That has also been mentioned in this summary section. Next to that, we have this client holding search. So this lets you search for the name of any fund and see who all are the clients under this ARN that hold onto that specific scheme. For example, let's say I'll search HDFC FlexiCap. So here I just click on this HDFC FlexiCap name and it says that there are 14 such clients. Those have HDFC FlexiCap in their portfolio. Now the first column shows you the name of these clients. The following three columns shows you specific details. First column letting you see what is the amount that is the total AUM of this specific client. Meaning, Anirudh Talwar has an AUM of 34 lakh, out of which 21 lakh has been taken up by HDFC Flexi Cap, which is equivalent to 62% of this portfolio. So such holding in terms of amount as well as in terms of percentage is something that you could see once you search for that specific fund name right here in this client holding search. Next to that, what you could see are these top 5 mutual fund exposures within this ARN. So here you could see iPro Value Discovery Fund is the one which which is something that is held by maximum clients under this ARN. That is the reason it has been shown up as the topmost bar graph, followed by the other schemes that has been held by maximum of the clients, or it has maximum exposure in this specific ARN for the clients. Next to that, you could see the top asset class, letting you see in this entire AUM or your ARN, which is the asset class that has been allocated to your clients to a greater extent. Currently, you could see equity to an extent of 39 crore, followed by hybrid and followed by debt. So these are color coordinated and their legends are mentioned just right below them. And in similar way, just as we saw the top asset class things, we can also see the top AMC exposures. You can hover on those and you can see what is the amount that is invested into that AMC for your ARN. And the legends are also visible right below. The last box in this dashboard shows you the top 10 clients under your ARN. You could see in their name and the amount that they hold at the moment, meaning when your data has been updated. So CAMS and Carvi on our platform is updated twice a week. Next, as I mentioned, all your client name show up on the left-hand side. You can click on the name of any of the client to run a portfolio analysis. So let's say I click on this Shekhar Sharma. This loads right here. There are 2 tabs under this name if you see. First is right here, portfolio. So once you go to this portfolio, you could see in the basic data, basic details of this portfolio for this client. This is the list of schemes that is there in this client's portfolio. Next to that, you could see these units for each of the scheme. Corresponding to the units, what is the value equivalent to this that forms a part of your portfolio is mentioned in this third column. Followed by that, what is the percentage allocation of each of scheme in this portfolio is what has been mentioned in this third column. Next to that, there are certain icons that you could see in this portfolios tab when you load in a client. So I'll just quickly take you through what does these mean. If you click on this compare icon, it directly takes entire scheme of this portfolio to the compare tab. So meaning you can do a fund level analysis of each of these clients' portfolio just by clicking on that compare icon. So we have directly been directed to this compare tab from this clients tab just by clicking on this compare icon. Next to that, we have this option of copy this client to the portfolio section as well as copy the client to the manual data tab. The basic reason that we have given this option is because since the client data, the RTA connection section wherein we show in the client data, these directly come in through your feeds. There is no option to edit these portfolios or change the allocations or the schemes. So for that reason, we have given this option to copy this client to either the portfolio section, which is right below, or to the manual data, which is right next to the RTA connection tab, well within the clients tab, wherein you can modify or rather change, let's say, the schemes or the allocations and see how it would look like. So these are the options which help you to copy them to either of the portfolio or the manual data tab. Next to that, we have this Excel icon, which lets you download this data in Excel format. So I'll just show you how it looks like. So the basic data, what we were able to see for that client, gets generated right here as well in this Excel format. Right. So this page would get generated in an Excel format. Next, once you click on Run Analytics, it takes you to a detailed portfolio analysis. Now, this analysis that we were showing, or rather looking upon, was for all your existing clients. Now, let's say you want to onboard a client just by creating a portfolio manually. That option is available right here in the Manual Data tab. It is in the Clients tab itself, right next to the RTA connection, the Manual Data tab. So here we have given an option called as Add Client Manually. You click on this and you give it a name accordingly. Click on Add Client. Here you have an option to search and add a fund or a stock. So let's say I'll search for few funds. Maybe one more. And let's say I also add in a stock, let's say Tata Steel. So here these have gotten added in and you could see in their latest NAV or their latest price. And next to that, there are two columns, units or current value. So here you need to input either of these two columns. Data is to be input into either of these two columns. The other column would get captured automatically. For example, let's say I'll input right here the amount of maybe 50 lakh. I clicked outside, the unit get automatically captured here as well. And similarly, if you input the number of units and click outside, the amount would get automatically captured. Once that is done, you can simply click on this Done as a section. Then the first page remains the same, what we saw in the RTA connection tab. You click on Run Analytics, it takes you to a detailed portfolio analysis. Now, this was the method how you could create a portfolio or rather view upon a portfolio in the Clients tab. There are also other ways of onboarding portfolios onto the platform using this Portfolios tab. Let's say you want to onboard your prospective client who has shared with you an ECAS. So you also have an option to upload those ECAS onto the platform. Here, there is an statement analyzer tool mentioned right above. You click on that, it opens up in a new page. So here you could upload ECAS either from NSDL, CDSL or CAMS. And these need to be in PDF format only. And these needs to be the original ECAS file, meaning no modifications or alterations needs to be done onto these ECAS. With the original password, it should be uploaded. You simply need to click on Choose File. Click on that specific ECAS that you have with you, input the password, and click on Check File. So it gives you a prompt that this is a recognized file type, which is CDSL. You can input a label, which is optional, and click on Process and Save File. Within few seconds, it would show up on this right-hand side. Once it gets uploaded, it shows up right here on this right-hand side. You could see in the date when it gets uploaded, also the amount that is there under consideration. Now, once you upload an ECAS, what does the platform captures is, I'll just show you right here. You can see a quick report of that. The platform captures mutual funds as well as stocks when you upload an ECAS. Once the ECAS is uploaded right here in this statement analyzer page, you again go back to NGEN Markets platform. There is this Portfolios tab, which is the second last tab. You could click on this plus icon. Once you click on that, the option is this, load statement analyzer. You simply click on that and any ECAS that you would have uploaded would show up right here in this small box. Next to those ECAS, you could see in this plus icon. You click on that and all the schemes automatically come up right here. As I mentioned, through ECAS, we capture both mutual funds and stocks. The identifier for both is also available. So for stocks, we have this graph-like icon, while for mutual funds, we have this bag kind of icon. After you have done the uploading, you simply give it a name. And there are two options that you could see, create or run. So if you click on create, it will take you to a detailed portfolio analysis, but the portfolio will not get saved onto your login. So the very first step is to click on this create to ensure that your portfolio gets saved onto your login, so that the next time you log in, you just need to come onto the platform, click on this drop down icon and simply click on run. Yeah, you can simply click on run. So every time you create a portfolio, you need to ensure that you save it onto your login. Now, this was for the ECAS that you uploaded onto the platform. Let's say what your prospective client has shared with you is not even an ECAS. They have shared with you an Excel sheet, wherein they have shared in the ISINs and the corresponding units as well. So that uploading is also possible on the platform, which is available right here in the Portfolios tab. In the Portfolios tab, you simply click on this plus icon. And here the option is load ISINs from Excel. So in this gray section, there is requirement of two columns. In the first column, you need to have the ISIN numbers, and the second column could be either percentage or amount or the number of units or shares. Any of these three could be the second column. First column should always be the ISINs. So I have this example file ready with me. ISINs being the first column, units being the second column. I'll simply copy this data and I'll paste it in this gray section. Once that is done, you let the system know what has been taken in the second column right here, read holdings as. Since I've taken units, I'll click on this drop down and select units. Once that is done, you can click on validate input. Based on the ISINs, the name of the schemes would come up and the corresponding allocations would also show up. Then the process remains exactly the same. You give it a name, click on create to ensure that it gets saved onto your login. If you click on run, it simply shows your analysis. It won't get saved onto your login. Now you can click on run. And now we go forward with a detailed portfolio analysis. So we saw different method how we could upload portfolio onto the platform. First was in the client section, which was RTA, wherein all your existing client data get onboarded, wherein we set in filters and forwardings. Next was in the portfolios tab, wherein we uploaded the prospective clients data onto the platform. So the various methods of uploading is different. The analysis that we show, be it in the client section for your existing client or be it in the portfolio section for your prospective client, remains exactly the same. Now here I have loaded this portfolio using the Excel ISIN upload option. So here we could see the first box shows me the schemes that is there in this portfolio. Next to that, you could see its allocation that is currently there in this portfolio. The second box, we have an option to change in this start date as well. Let's say you want to run this analysis for the portfolio for the last 3 years or for the last 5 years. You simply click on that. For that matter, you want to create a custom start date. That is also possible. So the date gets picked up automatically. I've clicked on 5 years ago. 27th August 2019 gets picked up as the start date. Next to that, there is this option called as benchmark, which currently states reference index 2. So this is auto benchmarking that happens on the platform. Now, what this reference index 2 stands for? You simply search right here. Reference index 2 stands for 90% Nifty TRI and 10% CISL bond. Now, this has been taken up based on the asset allocation. of the entire portfolio. So this is the first tab, asset allocation. The split in terms of equity and debt. Based on this split, the platform is suggesting reference index 2 at the moment. You can go forward with any other reference index as a benchmark. If not, let's say you want to benchmark it against a broad-based index. You can anytime go on to NSE, search for Nifty 50 or for that matter, Nifty 500. And you can change in and view how did the portfolio perform against these benchmark that you have selected. Now, in this asset allocation tab, we saw this split in terms of equity and debt. Next to that, you can also see in the total exposures that is there towards this portfolio. So you can see ICICI Bank has an exposure to an extent of 4.1%. Now, where does this exposure come from? You could simply click on this I button. So it says that there are these 4 schemes that are a part of my portfolio and they have held into ICICI Bank as a stock. And that is the reason my portfolio as a whole is getting an exposure from this stock to an extent of 4.10%. Next to that, we move on to the performance tab. Here, we could see how is the portfolio performing against that of the benchmark. So the blue line showing the performance of the portfolio and the black line showing the performance of the benchmark. So graphically viewing, we could see that the portfolio is outperforming the benchmark. We could anytime view this in statistical data as well, which is available on this right-hand side. So you could see cumulative return, absolute point-to-point return for both the portfolio and the benchmark. The portfolio has a cumulative return of 189%, while benchmark has a cumulative return of 128%. Next to that, you could see this total simple return, which is simply the sum of the daily returns for the time period that is under consideration. Again, higher for the portfolio in comparison to that of the benchmark. Now, in order to generate these return, what was the risk that was undertaken? You could view this annual volatility. The risk undertaken by the portfolio was to an extent of 12.5%, while the risk taken up by the benchmark was to an extent of 16.9%. So you could say that this portfolio generated a higher return with a lower level of risk in this time duration of 5 years that is under consideration. And that could also be seen in terms of its Sharpe ratio, which is the risk adjusted return, which is higher for the portfolio at 1.20 when we compare it to that of the benchmark, which is at 0.65. Next to that, we could view this historical 95% VAR. Now, VAR is an abbreviation for value at risk, suggesting what is the value of this portfolio that is at a risk. At a risk of what? At a risk of losing. Now here you could see 95 is what has been mentioned. So this says that with a 95% confidence interval, there is a 5% probability that if history were to repeat itself, your portfolio would go down by a total of 18.3%, while the benchmark would go down by a total of 22.8%. Now, if we put this in simple terms, if 100 rupees is invested in both the portfolio as well as the benchmark, the capital erosion for the portfolio would be 18.3 rupees and the capital erosion for the benchmark would be 22.8 rupees. And this confidence interval that you see is anytime editable, but it is an industry standard to keep this at either 90, 95 or 99. Next to that, you can see this implied value at risk. The meaning remains exactly the same. The only difference is the factor that we use for calculating historical and implied. So historical value at risk is calculated on the basis of historical returns, while implied value at risk is calculated on the basis of historical volatility. Next to that, we can see cumulative excess on benchmark. Typically, the alpha that has been generated, excess generated over the benchmark comes up to be 61.21%. We just subtract this benchmark return from the portfolio return. Next, we could see these capture ratios, up capture and down capture, suggesting how did the portfolio perform when the benchmark was in a bull run or a bear run respectively. So for up capture ratio, we see how did the portfolio perform when the benchmark was in a bull run. So you simply click on this I button. Here, we consider only those months when the benchmark generated a positive return, irrespective the portfolio generated a positive or a negative return. Maybe, for example, if at all we look at December 2019, the benchmark generated a higher return in comparison to that of the portfolio. So month on month, we consider all these months when the benchmark generated a positive return, irrespective of the return generated by the portfolio. Once that is done, we take a CAGR of this data set, which comes up to be 51 for the portfolio and 52 for the benchmark. So right now it is suggesting that when the benchmark was moving up by a total of 52.7%, the portfolio moved up by 51%, meaning it was not able to beat the benchmark. And for that reason, the up capture ratio comes up to be lesser than 100, which is at 96. How did we arrive at this 96? We simply divide this 51 with that of the, we divide the portfolio return with that of the benchmark return. So 51.01 divided by 52.7. That is how we arrive at this 96. Now we say higher the up capture ratio, better is the ability of the portfolio to beat the benchmark. And by higher, we mean more than 100 because we consider the benchmark to be at 100. And similarly, converse is the down capture ratio, wherein we consider all those months when the benchmark generated a negative return, irrespective whether the portfolio generated a positive or a negative return. For example, April 2021, the portfolio generated a positive return of 2.37%, while the benchmark generated a negative return of minus 0.07%. But still, April 2021 is mentioned in this down capture ratio calculation because consideration is given to the benchmark return. Here as well, we calculate this as a CAGR dataset, and the CAGR for the portfolio for this down capture ratio comes up to be negative 22.3%, while for benchmark, it comes up to be negative 33.9%. So here we could see that it says that when the benchmark was falling down by negative 33.9%, the portfolio fell down by only a negative 22.3%, meaning you could say that the portfolio during these months when the benchmark was in a bear run, the portfolio was rather resilient to the movements of the benchmark. And how did we arrive at this 65? Similar way, we divide this returns of the portfolio with that of the benchmark. And we say lower the down capture ratio, better is the resilience of the portfolio in comparison to the benchmark when the benchmark is in a bear run. And here as well, we consider the benchmark to be at 100. Next to that, what you could see are these monthly charts and yearly charts. So here you could see 61 is something that has been mentioned. So it says that in this time period of 5 years, there has been a total of 61 months, out of which 47 months my portfolio gave in an up performance, while 14 months my portfolio gave in a down performance. Now, in these months, which was the best performing month? You can simply hover on this topmost bar graph. This was April 2020 when the portfolio performed the best, and the worst performing month was March 2020. Negative 19.65 was the return for this portfolio. Typically, the COVID period is what we can say when the worst return was generated for this portfolio. Next to that, we move on to this contribution tab, which lets us see how each scheme in the portfolio contributes to generate portfolio return as a whole. So for example, let's look at this SBI multi-cap fund, whose individual return comes up to be 61.28. So this is the absolute return generated by SBI multi-cap, in this time period of 5 years that is under consideration. Now, SBI multicap's allocation in my portfolio is to an extent of 19%. Now, based on this allocation, its contribution to my entire portfolio comes up to be 5.76%. So here you could maybe take decision using this contribution tab, like seeing that SBI is not able to generate much return, although it has higher allocation in the portfolio. So you could take in decision maybe to reduce its weightage in the portfolio or maybe remove it completely from the portfolio as well. So decision making is something that could be done using this contribution tab. Next to that, we have this drawdowns tab, which lets us see how is the portfolio recovering from a loss in terms of its NAV movement falling down. How did it recover from that? So here you could see price as 108.83. Now, how did we arrive at this portfolio level price? We multiply the NAV of each fund with its weightage in the portfolio. And that is how we arrive at this weighted average portfolio level price. So on a portfolio level, we show in top 10 drawdowns. So here you could see the highest loss was to an extent of 27.6%, wherein the NAV of this portfolio was at 108.8 and this started falling and it reached a price of 78.7. Now, when did this happen? You can see right here. It started on 24th Jan 2020 and it ended on 23rd March 2020, meaning it was at 108, it started falling and it reached at 78 during this time period from Jan 2020 to March 2020. Now, post this end date, it took a total of 109 days for this portfolio to recover, meaning 109 days for this portfolio to cross this start price. Only then we could say that this portfolio has completely recovered from its loss of 27.64%. And when did the recovery happen? That is also mentioned right here, 21st August 2020. And you can anytime locate those onto these line graph. The white region shows the recovery phase, while the gray region shows the drawdown phase. Now, if we try to locate 21st August 2020, it would be somewhere here. Right here. So I've kept my cursor on 21st August 2020 and we could see the NAV as on that date was 109.42, which was higher than our start price. Our start price was 108.83. So that is the reason 21st August 2020 has been considered as the recovery date because which was higher than our start price when the drawdown started. Next, if at all we look upon these days to recover, and it was 109 days, which was basically the COVID period, a black swan event. If at all we ignore this date of 109, which was COVID, at max, this portfolio took a total of 42 days to recover from its worst loss. So you could say, or you could rather see that at max, you could stay invested into this portfolio and at max, it would take 42 days to recover based on its historical ability to recover from the losses that have occurred in the past. And this data of drawdown is something that you could download in an Excel format too. Next to that, we have this scenarios tab on a portfolio level, which lets you create in customized scenarios of your own. So you can simply click on add custom scenario and let's say you want to see how did the portfolio perform in an election scenario or an budget scenario or a month to date or year to date performance of this portfolio. You can give it a name, input a start date and input an end date of your choice and click on save custom scenario. So I had created this election scenario. It has gotten saved right here. So it is saying that in this scenario that I had created from the start date up until this end date, my portfolio underperformed during the budget scenario that I had created. There was a negative loss to an extent of negative 4.66%. Now, this scenarios tab is something that you could utilize simultaneously along with this contribution tab. Now I have created a scenarios for this entire portfolio. Let's see, I want to see which of the scheme of my portfolio performed the worst during this election scenario. So I go to this contribution tab, and here itself, we have given an option to create internal scenarios. So you input your start date and end date accordingly. I'll take in 3rd June 2024 to 4th June 2024, and I'll click on run. So we saw that portfolio as a whole was falling down in the election scenario. Now here we could see out of the total schemes that is there in the portfolio, which was the scheme that performed the worst, which was rather able to be stable during the volatile situation. So the worst performance came in from this Nippon India Small Cap Fund. So here contribution tab and scenarios tab could be simultaneously used. You could create in a scenario right here, and contribution could help you to see that in that given scenario, which fund was able to perform better, which performed the worst, which was able to rather be stable. Next to that, we have certain reporting options that is available on the platform. First being the PPT. So this is our portfolio level PPT. First page showing you the top holdings and top exposures that is there towards this portfolio, followed by the overall asset allocation, followed by what you could see is the equity market exposure, what percentage is into large, mid, and small cap stocks. Followed by that, the equity sector and debt market exposure. Then is the performance tab, suggesting how did the portfolio perform against that of the benchmark, the rolling returns tab, and the drawdowns tab. And these PPT reports are editable on the platform, meaning you could add in multiple slides. And we have also provided screenshots option on the platform. Right here, the orange icon next to beta lets you take in screenshot of any of the tab that you're on. You could take in screenshot, and those could be inserted as image right here in this empty slides. So this was the PPT that could get generated. Next being the PDF. So this is the performance page, first page showing you how did the portfolio perform against that of the benchmark, followed by the top holdings and exposures, the asset allocation, the AMC exposure, which AMC is heavily weighted towards the portfolio, the equity market exposure and the debt market exposure if there are any underlyings, followed by that the rolling returns and the drawdowns. So these were the two reports that could be generated from the platform. So that is it for the topic related webinar. If anyone has any query, they could either unmute themselves or type down their queries in the chat box.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, hi, please tell me.
And so you had mentioned about on the name section in this client's book, like
Um,
you added name and details. So I just want to know how you edit it. I guess I missed that part. So I just want to
um,
know the step for it. Exit.
all right. This okay. So with respect to your question, can you sorry, there's a lot of background noise. Just getting your question correctly here. You're saying in the client section,
Yes, in the client section, you had added the client name, in which you had put in the details and then you had the funding stock.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so just wanted to see that much point, like from where
Sure.
you add the name.
So where you add that name, right? So you go to the manual data tab, you say click to add a client manually. You put in your full name. So for example, yeah, so Ronak here, and then you say add client. Once you do that, you say update details. All the other details are recommended. I mean, you can skip it. Those are optional details, right?
Okay.
Name is compulsory, and then you go on adding schemes one by one.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
And one more thing I wanted to ask, like, is there any option in engine, like if I have two different portfolios, or the same client, two different portfolios, can I do both the portfolio comparison?
Yes, yes, you can do that. So if
Like
you
side by
have,
side only.
yes, yes, that's possible. So you just need to add those two portfolios first. Let's say you have two portfolios of the same client. Maybe one is a direct equity portfolio and the other is a mutual fund portfolio, right? And you want to compare these two portfolios side by side, right? Then you go to compare two portfolios. On the left hand side, you load in his stocks portfolio, right? And on the right, you load in his mutual fund portfolio, right? However, stocks portfolio you'll have to onboard, right? Either using a ECAS or using a ISIN upload functionality as Ansu just showed, right? Once these are onboarded, you choose a start date. So let's say that's last 5 years, and then you hit on go. Once you do that, this is a side-by-side portfolio comparison that happens, wherein we are comparing one particular client's stocks portfolio with his mutual fund portfolio. Right? So that's possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So usually hello Anshu.
Yes. Hi, this is Rajata. Please tell me.
Anshu. Yeah, Prajita, just tell me that if we have a family portfolio,
Yeah.
say 3 members in the family and different names,
Yeah.
can we merge that portfolio for the presentation to the client? Is it possible?
Yes, that can be done. You can merge portfolios. However, these will not get saved, right? We will show you how
Okay.
you can merge them, right? You go to the clients section, right? In
Yes.
the RTA connection itself, you make it consolidated view so that a view across all the ARNs is visible. And then you click on that load multiple clients checkbox. Once
Okay.
you do that, let's now search for Sharma family, right? So just type in Sharma and you get all of those, clients whose surname is Sharma. So let's say Shekhar
Right.
Sharma, Jatin and Karan belong to the same family, right? So we've
Yeah.
added these three and then you name it as a Sharma family. Once you do that, you click on done.
So none of them have any portfolio.
Yeah, so this is a demo data. So Anshul, we can do that in maybe the manual data tab or wherever. Yeah. So 1 second. Yeah. So let's say Shekhar Sharma and Mohan Sharma or Atul Sharma, whatever. Just take two. That's it. Yeah. Right. So you see now there's data. So once this is done, you click on run analytics. This will run a consolidated analysis on Sharma family's portfolio. Once the entire analytics gets run, you can take the PDF, PPT reports as we have discussed, which can generally, of course, be taken on a single portfolio also. Now, if you take this PPT, this will be a consolidated family portfolio analysis.
So
However,
that PPT
please
is
note,
fine. Yeah.
yeah, however,
Please
please
carry
note
on.
this will not get saved, right?
So there's no option to save that.
No, family portfolios do not get saved as yet.
Okay. See that in PPT, when you generate, you have asset allocation performances and all that, but you don't have
Yes.
any overlaps scenarios then we have to take a screenshot and put it over there, or can it be a part of that PPT also?
No, so typically if you want to include overlaps, right? So for example, if you go to correlations, right? Correlations
Yeah.
are not included there because there is an internal scenario that you can create there, right? So let's say you want to consider a post-COVID or a 3-year scenario, 4-year scenario. Then you can create those custom scenarios and then take a screenshot and include that in the PPT, right? That's why it's not included by default. By default, PPT has 8 slides. The last slide is the disclaimer, right? Rolling returns, drawdowns, performance comparison, asset allocation, all of those are covered. Anything else you want to add, like scenario analysis, contribution, overlaps, correlations, you can take section specific screenshots and include that as an additional slide there.
Okay, but that joint folio, that joint account cannot be saved into anything, because since you can't save this data.
No, family portfolios, what happens is they cannot be saved as yet. Yes, that's right.
Okay, the other option is to that put all that family holding into
Into
Excel
one
sheet and
single
upload.
portfolio. Yes, that
Yeah.
could be another option. Yes, absolutely. So let's say you have it in a single Excel sheet, right? Or you have it in multiple Excel sheets. You simply merge that into one single Excel sheet with all the ISINs one after the other. The second
Yeah.
adjacent column could be units respective to each of those ISINs. You copy that entire thing and paste it on NGEN Markets and create
And
that as one single portfolio. Yes,
yeah,
that's possible.
in that we can just give it name as an test or
Absolutely.
any family folio.
Yes,
That
yes,
will be saved.
absolutely. Yes, 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 absolutely. That's
Fine.
just like another portfolio, right? That will be saved.
Got you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any more questions? Please let us know.
Hello,
Yes, please go ahead.
I am Naveen calling from the side.
Yeah. Please tell me.
Ma'am, actually, my question is that when I generate a performance of some scheme, there are two things required in this scheme. One is the portfolio manager, and second thing is the exit load. And
Okay.
these two things are very important things, and I think it is most important part of this performance report.
Sure. And that is available on NGEN Markets. So when you click on a single fund, so for example, iPro value discovery,
Yeah.
whatever, whichever. So you simply click on that, it gets loaded in a new tab. This is a detailed fund analytics. The first thing that you mentioned, which was the details of fund manager, that is a separate tab altogether. That's fund managers. To view the latest fund managers, please remember always scroll down to the bottom, right? So in this case, Dharmesh Kakkad is the fund manager of iPro Value Discovery. I think, yeah, we have iPro Value Discovery. Other than that, the exit load details are available again right there at the center, right? You see those exit load details and you can scroll and then view the entire thing. Also, this gets exported into a PDF when you take a single fund analytics report, right? A detailed 3-pager PDF. It gets exported there as well.
But these details is required. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Really, I want to say that the fund manager name and exit load cannot be shown on the during the performance report when I generate.
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand your question well. Can you please?
When I generate the performance report, then I
Yes.
need to these two things,
Yes.
fund manager name and the exit load. Two
Yes. So
columns
right.
also required.
Yes. So that's right there. So when you take a report, Ansu, can we take a 3-page or a detailed report, please? Yeah. So we will show. So this is a fund, and you're taking a performance report of this particular fund. So you see at the top, it's mentioned right there, right? The exit load details. Is this clear? I mean, is the question, did I get the question correctly? That
एक्चुअली में जब
def-
मल्टीपल स्कीम का जब मैं परफॉर्मेंस रिपोर्ट जनरेट करता हूँ वहां की बात कर रहा हूँ, यहाँ पर तो एक सिंगल स्कीम
अच्छा,
पे आप
अच्छा,
okay.
हाँ, दिस अरुण। सो आई थिंक आप पोर्टफोलियो की रिपोर्ट की बात कर रहे हैं जिसमें अगर 5-10 स्कीम्स हो
या
तो
श्योर
उसमें एग्जिट लोड लिखा हुआ नहीं आता और
और
फंड
फंड
मैनेजर
मैनेजर
नेम
का
नहीं
नाम
लिखा
वापस
हुआ।
नहीं होता है।
अच्छा, तो देखिए ये हम एक बार चेक करेंगे। जस्ट प्रिंट अ पीडीएफ फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर पोर्टफोलियो जस्ट टू
Yeah.
सी। सो सर यहाँ पे इशू यही होता है कि हमारे यहाँ कोई रिस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं है कि आप पोर्टफोलियो में कितने फंड डालें। तो होता क्या है कि यहाँ पे कुछ कुछ मतलब वो 75-100 कुछ भी हो सकता है, कितने भी स्कीम्स हो सकते हैं। तो हमें क्या करना होता है, हमें ऑब्वियसली थोड़ा डिजाइन पर्सपेक्टिव से, डिजाइन नहीं, इन टर्म्स ऑफ स्ट्रक्चर जो बन रहा है इस पेज का, उसमें अगर जैसे आपके यहाँ पे 11-12 फंड है तो वो इजी है, आराम से आ जाएगा। लाइन में हम आपको दिखा सकते हैं एग्जिट लोड। तो यहाँ पे सर डिस्प्ले की प्रॉब्लम है। अगर आप बल्क में वो डेटा देखना चाहते हैं, हम एप्लीकेशन में दिखा सकते हैं, बट एग्जिट लोड जैसे आपने देखा है कुछ कुछ फंड्स का काफी लंबा टेक्स्ट होता है, तो वो कहाँ फिट आएगा। तो इट्स नॉट कि एग्जिट लोड एक नंबर है, इट्स लाइक अ सेंटेंस। एंड फंड मैनेजर कुछ कुछ फंड्स के 1 या 2 हैं, कुछ किसके 4 या 5 हैं। तो ये देखिए आप, इतना सारा टेक्स्ट है। अब अगर हमें हमारे पास 20 स्कीम है एक पोर्टफोलियो में, तो कैसे दिखाएंगे इसको।
अच्छा।
वो इशू यही है, हमें मतलब दिखाने में प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, टेक्निकल इशू नहीं है ये डिजाइन का। या तो हम एक सेपरेट टाइप ऑफ रिपोर्ट निकाल सकते हैं, जैसे कंपेयर सेक्शन में अगर आप उन्हीं फंड्स को कंपेयर सेक्शन में डाल दें पोर्टफोलियो की जगह, तो वहां पे हम सोच सकते हैं कि अगर किसी तरह का पीडीएफ निकले जिसमें वो जितना लंबा होता है वो होगा, एक के बाद पेज आता रहेगा, लेकिन वो मतलब एक प्रिंटेड लिस्ट से निकलेगी।
ओके,
अ,
कंटेंट की साइज
हाँ
ज्यादा होने के कारण वहां पर आप मतलब वहां पर शो नहीं करा
जी
सकते।
जी, अगर जैसे एग्जिट लो आपका, अगर सोचिए आप एक नंबर होता 10%, 12%, 5 2 वट एवर,
या श्योर।
तो वो तो आराम से हम दिखा सकते थे। फिर भी उसमें सर दूसरी प्रॉब्लम ये है कि आपका जैसे पोर्टफोलियो का, ये तो सिंगल फंड का रिपोर्ट है, इसमें हम कुछ भी कर सकते हैं बिकॉज एक ही फंड की बात हो रही है।
जी जी।
लेकिन अब पोर्टफोलियो में अगर 20 फंड है या 30 फंड है या 5 फंड है, तो 5 फंड वाला तो हो जाएगा, लेकिन 30 फंड वाले में जो लिस्ट है वो बहुत लंबी हो जाएगी, तो वो अगले पेज पे चले जाता है। कुछ कुछ
ओके।
लोगों के 50-50, 7-7 स्कीम्स हैं, तो वो और लंबा हो जाता है। तो इसलिए काफी जगह आप देखेंगे पोर्टफोलियो की रिपोर्ट में हम टॉप 10 दिखाते हैं, टॉप 10
यस यस।
होल्डिंग्स।
या
इसीलिए जैसे कि हमें फिर एक फिक्स 10, जैसे ये है टॉप होल्डिंग्स हैं, तो
जी जी।
अगर आपके यहाँ पे 20 स्कीम्स हैं, हम आपको जो आपके टॉप 10 हैं वही दिखाएंगे इसमें। तो ये थोड़ा सा इशू है। हम सोचते हैं इसके बारे में, अगर आई थिंक इसका मेन सोल्यूशन शायद कंपेयर सेक्शन में हम निकाल सकते हैं, जहाँ पे दूसरे टाइप की रिपोर्ट निकलती है, एक पावर पॉइंट रिपोर्ट निकलती है, उसमें
जी।
अप टू 20 फंड्स हो सकता है। अगर आपका 20 में काम हो जाता है, सो वी कैन थिंक ऑफ सम काइंड ऑफ डिजाइन जहाँ पे एग्जिट लोड एंड फंड मैनेजर का इन्फॉर्मेशन भी उस पीपीटी में आ जाए।
ठीक है सर, ओके, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू।
Hi, Ansu.
Policy no LGO for 2 weeks.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Can we get the recording of this particular session as well?
Yes, all the recordings of all our webinars will be uploaded on the YouTube channel.
Actually, last time we had attended one session as well. So I was searching that on YouTube, but I didn't got any. So is there any particular time after which you post
Yes,
the
absolutely.
live.
So this gets uploaded the next week, right? So
Okay,
we are
ma'am.
on Friday, right? 30th of August. It will get uploaded by first week of September, typically on a Thursday, right? And you can check it as per dates, or typically these will be arranged, sorted date-wise, right?
Yeah, last time I was
Definitely.
searching it according to dates
Oh,
only, and I
okay.
didn't find that video. So once I asked
Oh, if you're looking for any specific, you can just, let us know. We will share across the link on your email separately if required.
Oh, okay.
He loves you. He loves you very much.
Actually,
Any further questions, please let us know.
एक्चुअली मेरा क्वेश्चन है एक और कि क्या आपके सॉफ्टवेयर में कोई ऐसा सिस्टम है कि जहां पर अगर मैं किसी क्लाइंट का पैन नंबर का डालता हूं तो उनके पोर्टफोलियो जहां जहां भी है उस सारे पोर्टफोलियो को एक साथ वो फेच कर ले, लाइक डीपी डिपार्टमेंट, डीपी में हो या म्यूचुअल फंड में हो या कहीं अदर्स जगह हो, तो उस डाटा को फेच कर ले हो?
हाँ जी, नहीं ये फैसिलिटी देखिए हमारे पास इसका परमिशन भी नहीं है, तो ये तो आपको एमएस सेंट्रल या कैम्स की साइट से ही करना पड़ेगा, जो उनके पास उनका जो रजिस्टर्ड ईमेल आईडी है वहां पे वो रिपोर्ट आएगी। और वो जो कैम्स की जो आपकी रिपोर्ट आती है कंसोलिडेटेड या सीडीएसएल की या एनएसडीएल की, वो आप यहाँ
जी
पे अपलोड कर सकते हैं, लेकिन हमारा बिकॉज हम टेक कंपनीज है तो हमारे पास ऐसे किसी का भी पैन नंबर पे डेटा एक्सेस करना अलाउड मतलब हमारा परमिशन ही नहीं है इसका। आप अपलोड कर सकते हैं, एक बार आपको रिपोर्ट मिल जाती है, लेकिन वो रिपोर्ट आपको कैम से ही लेनी पड़ेगी। कैम्स का जो एक एक सिंगल फाइल आता है उसमें सारे म्यूचुअल फंड कैम्स और कार्बी के तो आ ही जाते हैं,
जी जी बिल्कुल।
तो वो वाला इसके स्टेटमेंट एनालाइजर में आप अपलोड कर सकते हैं।
ओके सर, ओके, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू।
हाँ सॉरी, एक्चुअली एक और मेरा क्वेरी था कि जब आप मल्टीपल परफॉर्मेंस रिपोर्ट हम किसी भी स्कीम का निकालते हैं,
हाँ जी,
तो वहां पर जो नंबर ऑफ डेज जो दिखाता है, यानी स्कीम का इनिशिएटिव डेट नहीं दिखाता है वहां पे, मतलब दिखाता है कि कितने दिन से मतलब कि शुरू हुआ है, तो उनका ये मतलब परफेक्ट डेट वहां पर नहीं शो कर सकता है कि हाँ इनका इनिशिएशन डेट ये है।
किधर आपका कौन से एरिया की बात कर रहे हैं? कंपेयर सेक्शन में है
हाँ, कंपेयर सेक्शन में बात कर रहा हूँ, जहाँ पर
हाँ जी
मल्टीपल स्कीम को हम परफॉर्मेंस पर निकालते हैं, वहां पर
जी,
स्कीम का वहां पर नंबर ऑफ डेज निकालता है वहां पे।
नंबर ऑफ डेज।
लंच डेट, मैं चाहता हूँ कि वहां पर लंच डेट वहां पर निकाले, परफेक्ट डेट वहां पर हो, तो वो पॉसिबल है?
अच्छा अच्छा, ये अच्छा अच्छा, ये आप कह रहे हैं यहाँ पे मतलब लॉन्च डेट दिखनी है
जी जी।
एज की जगह।
एक की जगह वहां पर लंच डेट अगर आ जाए तो वो ज्यादा,
जी
उससे ज्यादा सूटेबल होगा, क्योंकि पता नहीं चलता है कि हाँ ये स्कीम कब शुरू हुआ था।
हाँ जी, तो हमने तो यहाँ पे डेसिमल पॉइंट में कन्वर्ट करके इयर्स लिखाया हुआ है।
जी
तो ये 15 साल या 20 साल जितना भी है।
जी जी।
तो ये एक्चुअली इसका पॉइंट ये था कि कभी कभी कुछ कुछ फंड्स हैं जो 1-2 साल ही पुराने हैं, तो वो अगर आप सेम लिस्ट में डालो तो कंपैरिजन जो है वो कम टाइम के लिए हो जाती है, तो इसलिए ये वाला कॉलम हमने डाला था। आप अगर स्क्रीनर में देखेंगे, आई थिंक स्क्रीनर में इज देयर अ लॉन्च कॉलम, आई एम प्रीटी श्योर, आई थिंक देयर वाज, कैन यू जस्ट चेक? um I think in basic
No,
details में।
this is in query. So query में है the date.
ओके, क्वेरी में है, हाँ,
Yeah.
लॉन्च डेट है। ठीक है,
Yes.
हम
Also in the PPT, meaning in the compare section, if you download the PPT,
या
you will get launch dates of each of these funds as
Yeah.
a separate column.
Yes.
So
Inception, there's a column
yes,
called
launch
inception.
date, yes.
ठीक है
So you can check that.
ठीक है फिर भी
आपको
अगर
वहाँ
आप
पे मिल
चाहते हैं कि यहाँ पे इंसेप्शन का एक कॉलम आ जाए तो लेट्स राइट दैट डाउन वी कैन ऑब्वियसली पुट इट इन द ऑप्शनल चेक बॉक्सेस so let's note that down so we can add another column called inception along with age.
All right.
Okay.
हाँ जी सर हम इस पे काम करते हैं हम एक कॉलम यहाँ पे ऐड कर देंगे.
All right, if there are no more questions, we can close for today, Ansu.
Yes. Thank you all for joining in. You can anytime visit our YouTube page. We have a dedicated playlist for all the webinars that have been conducted up until now. And today's recording would also be uploaded by next week. Thank you all for joining in. Hope to see you again with a new topic next week. Thank you.